We're back with another episode of Pursue Podcast. With me, as always, Kim Mokron.
Hello, hello.
Today, we have a very special guest with us, Vika, National Director of Right to Play Norway and former cross-country skier at the University of New Mexico. Welcome.
Thanks, great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you here.
Indeed. Jimmy, you are a very important person in Norway when it comes to contributing with means to people in need. And you're head of Right to Play. It's an organization we love to collect and work with and collect money for children in the countries you work. And we'll talk a lot about that role. But also, very interestingly, you are actually a former student athlete, which we thought was, hey, that's perfect. And we've known you for many years, and we knew about your skiing abilities. Obviously, we've seen you more in like in the work you do right now. But we thought it was perfect to get you on the show and listen to your story and how you've gotten where you are today and how the U.S. journey, which was shorter for you than others, has helped you in where you are now. But you were a good cross-country skier from Norway, and you ended up at University of New Mexico. It's quite far away from Kongsvinger in Norway, where you grew up. What happened? How did you make the decision to go over there?
It's a good question. So we're then back to 2002, 2003, 2004. So as you said, I'm a former cross-country skier. I was actually a full-time athlete in Norway for several years. I was on the junior national team and also on some more kind of private regional teams as well. And I've kind of reached a point where I said to myself, okay, do I want to do this, push 100% on cross-country skiing moving forward, or do I want to, switch to studies, or do I want to combine these two? I had some friends that had been to the US or were in the US actually at that time, and they said to me that I think you should try this because it's so great to be able to do sports at a high level and then be able to go to college at the same time and to get an education. I think that's the more I thought about it, the more it made sense, and I reached out to a couple of schools first and said is it possible to come over to get a scholarship and race and study for you guys? And I ended up with a lot of opportunities around the U.S., but I ended up in New Mexico, and that's probably not the place you think about when you think about skiing.
Oh no!
You just Mexico, and you don't think obviously it's New Mexico, but you don't think of that as a skiing destination at all.
Exactly. So the thing is, I said to myself, I want to try something different than living at Hamar or Lillehammer, which I did at that point. So I could go to Anchorage, I could go to Denver, Boulder, many places, but then I chose New Mexico because it was so kind of far away and different from what I was used to. So I was kind of drawn to that. But I also knew that they have had some pretty good skiers there in the former years, and I knew there were some great opportunities to train actually on snow on a place called Sandia Peak, which is quite close to Albuquerque, which is then the city I lived in.
Yeah, and that is obviously Breaking Bad territory for those who have seen the show. Have you watched it?
Absolutely, several times.
Yeah. Because that's how I know Albuquerque. It's a funny name. You've seen obviously that show. I mean, I know some of the people at the University of New Mexico. We've had some soccer players there. They are in Albuquerque. There's no that is University of New Mexico. That is the team for everybody there. I would say that's who you support, and not just soccer, which was quite popular, but But of course, if you do well in skiing, which you guys certainly did, you get the support from the local community there.
Absolutely, it's all about the Lobos,
Yeah,
and it was
the wolves. Yeah,
the wolves, yeah.
Ow. Yeah.
Yeah, so so I actually ended up then going there in 2003 until 2004, and it was obviously a big shift for me, a big change to come there. But I also lived together with one Norwegian and one Swedish guy, so I kind of you feel like home anyways. So I were off to a good start, both at school and in terms of training and competing as well. The school was great. It's kind of strange to come from Norway and you come to campus and all kind of the athletes, you have your own space on campus, your own building where you can actually sit and study. That was something different than what I was used to back home, I would say, for sure.
It is.
So it kind of shows how the schools are working with athletes, so that you are able to do sports at a high level and also deliver great results in your studies, which is obviously as important as the sports.
Yeah. And that's the beauty about the combination about it as well, how they do it over there in the US. But I found a funny article about you from 2003, and where it said that, you said it was very different from Norway because I work out with no shirt on and there's no snow, and you're a cross-country skier from Kongsvinger, Norway. That had to be very different from what you were used to.
Absolutely, it was very different, and it was definitely a lot of roller skiing going on in the preparations, and obviously a lot in the gym as well, and running up on the peaks around the city. But
Albuquerque is quite high altitude.
It's quite high. I don't remember exactly, but I think it's like 16 or 1700 meters. So it's kind of the what do you call it, the middle height?
Yeah.
So
but that's perfect for your stamina and to develop your aerobic.
Absolutely,
which is important for
absolutely.
that sport.
And I would say that was kind of the biggest challenge for me and the other skiers obviously as well, that a lot of the competitions were conducted at a high altitude. So I remember a couple of the races that, you started at 2,500 and you actually kind of touched upon 3,000 meters. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And
you feel that it's like a wall hitting you when you get tired.
If you hit that wall, you're down.
Yeah.
You will never get up again because it's really tough. And as an example, if you do the World Cups in Europe, the highest altitude you can race on is 2,000 meters.
Yeah.
So you're then 500 to 1,000 meters above that.
Yeah.
So
that's a challenge.
It's extreme.
It's extreme and it's tough to breathe. And but hey, it was great. We traveled around in US. I saw a lot of great places. That I would say that is probably one of the things I remember, kind of the best memories. It felt like this long road trip actually, where we, 3 hours in a car in the US is nothing.
Yeah, no.
If you drive 3 hours in Norway, it's like, oh man, it's going to take the whole day. And it's way too much. But there you're kind of used to, going 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 or 12 hours.
In the weekend trip.
Exactly,
like
on the weekends.
One of those journeys. Yeah.
Just to train or to do 1 or 2 races.
Oh.
So I would say that is, some really, really great memories around the skiing is definitely all the trips we had. It was amazing, for sure.
And probably the best trip you had was to the East Coast when you went to nationals at Dartmouth College. That's an Ivy League school, and obviously there's not an overload of schools that actually have skiing. But obviously to qualify for nationals, and you went on to win the national championship when you were there that year. That is big to bring home the trophy to Albuquerque.
It is big for sure, and I don't think I actually realized how big the NCAA is before I actually won. People had told me before I went there, and obviously when we were there as well, that this is something really big in the US. The NCAA is the big championships for the universities, and I was fortunate enough to win the race, and that was a crazy feeling and a really great day, obviously. And for the team as well, because I don't think Lobos has that many champions over at least at that stage. And I remember this story the day after. That was kind of when I realized how big the NCAA is when we had this long breakfast after probably celebrating all night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you should.
Like we should.
Typical American continental breakfast with a donut and a banana and a yogurt, or
Yeah.
was it more eggs and bacon as well?
I think it was more eggs and bacon that day.
Okay, you were allowed to have that.
Exactly. And I was actually, USA Today was there, and I was just, going through the paper, and then I suddenly saw myself, a picture from the day before, and with Michael Jordan on the other side, and then I thought, wow,
Right where I belong.
it was strange, for a Norwegian to actually see your name in USA Today, and that was when I kind of said to myself, wow, NCAA is a big thing here.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Yeah. I mean, USA Today is a national newspaper, one of the absolute biggest ones there. And when I studied communication journalism major, so of course we had to subscribe to one newspaper, and USA Today was the one I subscribed to and read. But it really, of course, because in Albuquerque, like I said, the University of New Mexico, that is, you support those teams. There's no other professional setup or anything there. So, of course, then people come to games and tournaments and they support it. And, of course, a national title that it makes it to in cross country, which, you can argue that it's not such a big sport in the US compared to the big ones they have. That's really cool. And to be next to Michael Jordan, who obviously also played college in the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and is a legend there. You should frame that and put it up on the mantelpiece, right?
I should, and I actually thought about this yesterday because I haven't seen that paper in some years, but I believe it's in my my home in Kongsvinger. The one.
Hopefully not collecting dust up at the attic.
I think it is. So it's a good idea. I should definitely frame that.
Yeah.
That should be in your office at Right to Play, I feel.
It should.
100%.
Cool. So you did 1 year of business administration studies, cleaned up, won the national title, and then you got headhunted for a job in the sports industry back in Norway that you ended up taking. Obviously, you've done a lot within the sports world and business, but you ended up at Right to Play. And obviously, the mission of Right to Play is to protect, to educate, and empower children to rise above adversity using the power of play. So it's something that for us it's dear to our heart. We love education. We feel it's extremely important, and that's what we are helping our students pursue in the States. But also the play factor, and obviously it's a very different type of play for the children in the countries you work with in Right to Play than obviously college sports in the US. But there's certainly a parallel. But how did Right to Play start?
So we actually have to go back to 94, the Olympics in Norway at Lillehammer, which everyone, a lot of people know. So our founder is Johan Olav Koss. He's a former Olympic speed skater. So he won 3 Olympic gold medals at Lillehammer.
I was at the 5,000 meter
Wow.
in Vikingskipet speed skating. I was 9 years old then, but it was a incredible experience and it was actually double gold for gold silver for Norway there. Kjell Storeli I think got second, but of course Johan Olav Koss, legendary Olympic athlete.
It was awesome. And so if you go back to 93 then, because it's linked to an organization that the Norwegian Olympic Committee engaged in something called Olympic Aid. And they wanted to have some athletes ambassadors connected to this organization. And they asked Johan if he wanted to be a part of this. And Johan said yes, he wanted to. And Johan was actually struggling with his shape and everything during the fall in 93 before the Olympics. So he decided to go with Olympic Aid to the field. And he went to an African country, and he, after that trip, I think Johan was blown away by all the challenges, all these kids face in these countries. And he, there and then decided that from now on, I'm going to use my position to help as many kids as possible. So he kind of continued with helping Olympic Aid. He actually donated several of his gold bonuses from Lillehammer, which was amazing. And he also got the Norwegian people to donate millions of dollars during the games. But then, moving forward, he wanted to build something on his own. And that's kind of the bridge to Right to Play. So when in 2000, Johan founded his own organization and then called it Right to Play. And now it's 2020. So it's actually, we have the 20th anniversary. Started as, this really small NGO. And we are now a big organization, headquarters in Toronto, Canada. We have programs in 15 countries. We help 2.3 million kids on a yearly basis, where we actually use, the power of play to protect, educate, and empower children in the most, vulnerable areas.
It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, and if you look at where you've, in those 20 years, the impact you've had, obviously starting from scratch to now raising close to, I think, $40 million on a yearly basis. And in Norway, this branch, you're doing, close to 50 million Norwegian kroners, which obviously it's, $5.5 million. That is
it's extreme,
incredibly cool. And this is also why we're drawn to it. And I remember the story about how, the logo that you have, because there was a little rebranding of Right to Play, and the logo, I love the logo and the story behind it. How was that again? Because I've heard it and it inspired me, but if you know it better than I do.
Exactly. So this is actually from the first trip that Johan went on. So he visited a school and he saw this one kid at this school, and when they were not in class, he saw that everyone, kind of followed this kid. And Johan asked, why is everyone around this kid? And the teacher said, don't you see? Because he's the only guy that has a long sleeves on his shirt. So he actually took it off and kind of built a ball out of this.
And they played with his long shirt sweater as the ball during recess.
Exactly. So that was kind of that was when the logo was born.
Yeah.
So if everyone looks at Right to Play's logo, it's you could see kind of the that ball then. So it's a great story.
It's a very powerful one. And it says a lot, the difference between coming from, if you draw the parallel to NCAA colored soccer or the sports there, where the facilities and the the support network around it, it's incredible. And here you have one kid who's the main guy because he has a sweater they have to use for a ball. That is the contrast is quite big.
Exactly, and I think it kind of, play has so many aspects around how you can use it to develop not only kids, for us as well, obviously grown-ups. You could use it. We have several types of play that we use. You could use kind of the more simple one, the pure sport thing. You could have creative play. Some sort of role play where people actually learn how to communicate, to solve any problems you might have, and there are free sport, and we also use play a lot in classroom, which is kind of our main activities, and our methodology is to use play as a tool to educate children.
So you have kind of your playbook that is developed, and you work with government to try and implement your ideas for how education should be done through play. And a lot of these countries are adapting this as their method of choice in a lot of these schools.
Exactly. So it's all about getting this methodology to as many people as possible. And the way we do it is that we build the capacity of the teachers. So this is basically capacity building, because we then train all these teachers in our play methodology, and they use it in class, both in classrooms and outside classrooms. And kind of, we measure, obviously, results. We have to measure results and show results. And we see that when you use play in education, kids stay at school. You decrease the dropout rate, which is really, really important. The first one is actually to get kids into school, and then get them to actually
stay there,
there
and follow.
Exactly.
But there's a lot of reasons that it's quite difficult for us maybe to understand the reasonings for dropping out, or the necessity to do that. But obviously, the better the program is, and the more excited they will be, and the more effective it is, the longer people will stay. But it also requires, of course, funding to have give these children the opportunities to do that.
Absolutely, and we see that kind of the motivation it gives kids when you use play in education is great, because we are facing some really tough things with these kids. You have child marriage, you have child labor. It's a lot of things that they are facing, and you need to, not only the kids but also the parents need to understand that kids have to go to school, they have to get an education, and if we as an organization can support these kids, by getting them through the education with play, that is, that's the main vision we have.
I did read talking about that, I did read a very great stat that in Jordan, where the kids there that are part of Right to Play program, 90% of those says that they feel engaged in the classroom and outside the classroom. And that's a pretty humongous stat compared to just 57% of kids that are not part of the Right to Play program.
Exactly.
So it's massive that, in areas like that. And I could mention 60, 70 other stats you have here, but I think that just came out to me saying that that's pretty incredible that you've gotten 90% of the kids that are Right to Play kids, that they feel engaged and part of something in the classroom.
Yeah. And because we focus a lot on quality education, which is one of the sustainable development goals as well, number 4, and that is linked to what you say, because if play contributes to higher the standards for education, for sure. And we work a lot with health and well-being as well, especially in African countries. Gender equality is definitely something that we work a lot on. So it's a great organization, and we deliver great results.
Yeah.
really do.
truly.
And Johan Olav Koss, Olympic Aid wanted him to be an ambassador, and he was an ambassador, but then obviously he started Right to Play. But there's also a lot of athlete ambassadors through Right to Play, because this is what you are doing for the children. It really resonates to a lot of athletes, I feel, with it's such a good thing you're doing. So you have a lot of ambassadors worldwide. Mats Zuccarello, NHL player, Martina Hingis, former number 1 in the world in tennis, I believe, Gelson Fernandez, another soccer player, Axel Lund Svindal, Super Olympic alpine skier, is also on the board in Right to Play Norway. Nathan Redmond, Southampton player in the Premier League. Petra Kvitova in tennis. Kasper Ruud in tennis. Susanne Pettersen in golf. Pascal Siakam, he's NBA player for Toronto Raptors. Alison Felix, track and field, like super decorated track and field star from the US. And also you have Liverpool. If you've seen the back of the jerseys of Liverpool FC, they have the Right to Play logo on there too. So you can see people coming together to raise awareness, and also, of course, help raise money for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So this has kind of been in our strategy since, I would say, day one. And it's obviously linked to Johan as well, because he had his network with athletes. But as you said, Kim, I think athletes, they know and see how play in sports, have changed their lives.
Yep.
Even though they live in a different area of the world, they do see kind of the positive impact it has, and they truly believe in play as a tool. And it's amazing that all these big superstars are actually supporting us for free. They are spending a lot of their own spare time. They are building awareness. They are doing fundraising, donating personal meetings or equipment that we could, use on auctions. It's really amazing how they do this, and they also some of them has gone to the field with us to actually to visit the projects and see the impact that play has on our programs. And we've had some great experiences with these athletes.
Yeah. And you've done so many things. You've been with Right to Play for 7 years now, but what are the key memories or the most fun and most meaningful days you had at Right to Play?
I would say I can start with something that I wouldn't describe as fun, but it kind of showed the need for our organization. This is probably one day I will never forget, and I think it was my second trip to Uganda, where we were in the capital, Kampala, in the slums, where we have a program, and I met this girl, 15 years old, and she had 2 kids. That kind of, and I have 3 kids. At that point, I had 2 on my own. But then I was 35 years old, and she was 15 years old, having 2 kids.
Yeah.
It's everything is wrong with that situation, and that has been for me a great motivation working with Right to Play. To be able to help girls like her, to get her back to school, to give her an education and a future. And I think that's one of the most powerful memories I have on that side. If we look at the other side, I can refer to athletes again, where we actually played hockey with Zuccarello in Tanzania in 2015, because he actually brought hockey sticks to the field.
Yeah.
And he's a legendary NHL player, like for New York Rangers, and he's really, really into Right to Play and assisting through his organization. And he's been in the field, and you get to be part of that. That's
Mats,
so
Mats
nice.
and his management, great guys. They've had several events for us, raising loads of money, supporting us, and being able to be on the ground in Tanzania playing kind of field hockey there with him. He brought, I think, 15 sticks, and the sticks are still there. So
good. It's incredible, though.
It's incredible. I think that kind of changed him as well, and then how he looks upon Right to Play and our programs.
It's something that we truly want to contribute to every year, and we have a lot of athletes, and we want them to feel like they can be ambassadors for Right to Play, and that's what we'll talk about next. Our one donation, one education campaign. So we are launching the One Donation, One Education campaign. That's how we at the College Scholarships say contribute towards the cause. We've been doing this for several years, and we're a bronze partner with you. Very proud to help raise funds for this. The One Donation, One Education campaign, it is what it says it is. One donation of 250 Norwegian kroners, which is your estimate for that will give one child in one of your programs access to education for one full year. And 250 Norwegian kroners, that is 27 American dollars.
Yep.
So it's not a very big sum, but we refer to this amount as a scholarship. What we do, we obviously get scholarships for our student athletes to go to the States, to a school, and combine their education with sports. And we do find them the scholarship options, which obviously helps them fund this trip. So on the other side of the spectrum, you have these kids in these programs, and you could give a scholarship as a donation so that they can get a scholarship for 1 year and get their education, just like you're doing it. It's obviously two ends of the spectrum, but we feel that for a relatively small sum of money, you can make the world a difference for a child if you donate a scholarship. So a lot of our student athletes, they are happily donating to this, and we're reaching out to every single one of them and of course family and many coaches in the US have also donated to this. In the US, they're also very good at donating money. They like to do that as part of their culture. Of course, in other countries too, but they're very. I think a lot of our student athletes, they come to the college system and then they see how much donation and giving it's quite important there.
Absolutely, it's really important. Yeah, and I think first of all, thank you a lot to you guys for supporting Right to Play. It's amazing for us to have you on board, and thank you to everyone out there who is donating to this campaign. And I think 250 kroners or $25 to $30. I think a lot of people can manage that. To donate that.
Yeah. Even though they're on student budgets, I mean, it is a relatively small amount compared to what that means for someone else, and for you as an organization. You measure, not just in money generated, but you talk about, well, this, let's say this bank donated this amount and their staff at the bank donated this amount, which means 1,174 children get the opportunity to be in our program for another year. That's how you measure things too.
Yeah, that's how we measure it. And I think, it's important for everyone to understand kind of the impact these 250 kroners has on a child's life. Imagine you could actually donate $25 or $27, and that kid, boy or girl, can go to school for 1 year every day and be supported by Right to Play. and use play as a tool. I think that's
Probably the most well spent $27 you'll ever spend. That's how many coffees in Starbucks?
That is
4 or 5 coffees.
max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off there, but of course we have a lot of student athletes that love this cause and they contribute. And we talked about the athlete ambassadors you have, but you're kind of a right to play student athlete ambassador by donating here.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that everyone that donates to Right to Play, and especially through this cause, you're definitely an ambassador. And it would be great to have everyone on board on this.
Yeah. And I think one thing is, of course, it's a financial thing with donating money, which for charity, of course, that is the one most important thing to do. But it's also about creating awareness of what Right to Play is all about, and help spread the word. And we know there's a lot of great causes and great charities that some have a preferred charity over others. It's impossible to support everything, but I think also to help spread the word, if this is something that resonates to you, that really helps us, and it for sure helps you at Right to Play to reach more people.
Absolutely, and I think it's a perfect link here. You have education, you have sports and play on both sides.
Yeah.
Even for people going to the US to study, or children trying to get an education in African or African countries or in the Middle East. So I think it's a perfect match.
It is. And a dream scenario would be that you can maybe, through getting an education, what if some of these children that have been through the programs could come through the American college system, earn a scholarship, and graduate? I mean, that would be like a dream scenario.
That would definitely be a dream scenario, and that is actually something that we work on now to go back and actually track where these kids are at this stage, or 20 years moving forward.
To see the impact.
Exactly.
And if you look at what some of these scholarships, the sports scholarships that some of our students get, say a full scholarship at a top university, you're getting $50,000 to $60,000 a year in scholarship.
Yep.
So then the $27, a little chunk of that could go towards a good cause. I think that's a good argument.
Absolutely.
It is a really good argument, and it's something that I think for a lot of the culture that's coming up now, I think the younger people are a little bit more aware of what's going on around the world, and I think it's beautiful to see that kids that are 18, 19 years old doing their freshman year at college can be a part of something to help kids in Tanzania or Uganda or Jordan or wherever it is in the world, and help another kid there to get 1 year of education and get the right to play and be a part of Right to Play. And I think that's just a beautiful story.
It
Absolutely.
really is. Yemi, it's been great to have you here. I hope this shows what Right to Play is all about, and that through this campaign, One Donation, One Education, we can raise a lot of money for Right to Play and the children in the amazing programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your support.